Okay, hi there, and welcome to another episode of Gull-Mouth Action podcast, where we'll take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton and Hove Albion. I'm Derren Howard, and I'm joined by Brighton writers Sam Morton and Henry Bryant, as well as our Sussex World columnist and lifelong Albion fan Ian Hart. Brighton travel to Everton this Saturday for their Premier League opener at Goodison Park. It will be new boss Fabian Hurzeler's first match in charge of the Seagulls, having joined in the summer from German outfit St. Pauli. And we'll also take a look at all the latest transfer news for Brighton, including the latest on Billy Gilmour to Napoli and another potential incoming in Bryant from German club Mainz. We'll also pick over the bones of Albion's win against Villarreal in their final pre-season friendly at the Amex Stadium last week, and also take a look at the predictions for the weekend as well. But we'll start with you, Sam. You're at the final pre-season game against Villarreal, 4-0 victory. All looked quite comfortable in the end. But what was your overall thoughts, and are they ready for the Premier League opener?
Yeah, it certainly seems so. I think it was a really entertaining game, and Brighton looks really good going forward. I think the game started off a little bit ropey, where Villarreal put a couple of long balls through, and they could very easily have taken the lead. And Fabian Hurzeler did actually say in his interview at the end that he was a little bit unhappy with how the game started, and it very easily could have gone differently if Dan Juma had got the ball in the goal rather than hitting the post, when he probably should have scored. And they had a couple of moments where they broke in behind the defence on the left-hand side. I couldn't make Brighton pay for it. But Brighton, on the other hand, were really clinical. And every time they went forward, they looked like they would score. Danny Welbeck was on fire. He's shown once again how important he continues to be for Brighton. And Yankuba Minte as well, who's really set the world alight since he's come in for Brighton. And obviously, it is only pre-season, and it's difficult to judge how he will do in the Premier League. But the signs are really, really positive from him, really. I think he looks really quick. He's really good at winning the ball high up the field. And he grabbed another goal. It was a really nice goal, actually, whereas it was all a bit chaotic in the box, but he managed to calm himself down and find a really nice finish. But João Pedro is the one who opened the scoring with a belting goal at the start of the game. And it's great to see him back and just once again show how much of a quality player he is. He's actually been nominated for the PFA's Young Player of the Year as well. Sure. So, obviously some tough competition in that. But expecting another big season from Pedro. It was a great goal against Villarreal, and it was obviously it was the forwards that won the game for them in the end, with obviously Welbeck and Minte getting the other goals. Welbeck getting a couple with a second from a penalty as well. So really entertaining game, lots of goals, and it continued Brighton's 100% win record in pre-season. So obviously, as I say, it's difficult to take too much from that, as wins aren't the most important thing in pre-season. It's all about getting the players fit and ready, but it certainly seems that they are.
Good. Yeah, it's been an interesting summer, Ian. Obviously, De Zerbi left, Hurzeler came in. They've spent, if they bring the new lad in from Mainz, it's going to be almost more than 100 million that they've spent on new players this summer. What do you make of everything that's happened over this transfer window and since De Zerbi left?
Well, they had to, really. Good morning, Derren and Henry and Dan, Sam. They had to. This is the transfer window we've all been waiting for. We actually sort of showed last year that we sold the two quality players, Caicedo and McAllister, at the beginning of the season, or in the first transfer window, and we never replaced them. The squad was light, rightly or wrongly, or did he or didn't he? Did De Zerbi ask for reinforcements in Jan? And Sam will correct me now because I'm getting old. That this young lad that we've loaned out to Port Vale, what's his name, Bailey Boateng or whatever?
Oh yes, yeah, Baker Boaty,
yeah. He featured in Europe, didn't he?
I think he came on as a late sub, didn't he? Yes.
That shows how light we were. That he's featured in Europe, and then we've loaned him to Port Vale. We haven't loaned him to someone in the Championship. So this has been the transfer window that we've all been waiting for. As I've said in the column this week and last week, with Hurzeler, there's no grey area here. it's either going to be feast or famine. We're either going to hit the ground running. He's this lad who's come from Bundesliga too. He's going to bamboozle the rest of the EPL, and we're going to end up winning a trophy within 2 years, or it's going to unravel pretty quickly, whether they admit their mistake early or not and make a change. We'll get dragged down into a relegation fight, and sadly we could end up playing Pompey in the Championship in the next couple of years. I'm going for the first one, and we're going to win a trophy within the next couple of years. I think that, as I said, this is what we've been waiting for. Some quality coming in. Pedro, as you say, they're pushing Lawrenson as my greatest of all time. He's going to have another good season if he can stay injury-free. Welbeck's playing this final cameo. It would be nice to see Ferguson back firing on all cylinders as well. Yeah. But some really exciting. This Minty really excites me, and a fit Matoma will always excite. So, fingers crossed. And I don't want Gilmour to go to Napoli. I think that would be a retrograde step. But
yeah.
Who am I?
Henry? Do you think what's going to happen with Gilmour, Henry? Would you like to see him stay? And if he does go, what do you think is the reason behind a possible departure for Gilmour?
Well, I think, as a lot of Albion fans sort of would agree with, it would be a real shame and a big loss for us to lose Billy Gilmour, because, I mean, we've recently just got rid of the club veteran Pascal Gross to Borussia Dortmund, his boyhood club. And I mean, that's a deal that he couldn't sort of reject. And, we need someone young to step up and to sort of take that position, fill Pascal Gross's shoes, really, and become another sort of servant for the club. I think that the way that Gilmour's been playing at the age of 23, there's still so much potential there.
Yeah.
I think the chances that he was given, with Scotland in the Euros as well to play, especially that final game against Hungary where they, just weren't able to get it over the line. I thought he played really well. A lot of pundits as well were sort of highlighting the fact that he was doing this a lot for Brighton, in the season before the Euro started. And I think he was just such a key player for us, really, being able to sort of just change defence into attack. And it would be such a big loss for us. I know that there was an £8 million offer initially that was rejected. Apparently, that was now sort of replaced with this around £20 million mark. Not sure if there's any add-ons on that. But I just think that maybe he's thinking that maybe there'll be some chances in Europe for him potentially, that are coming up. I also think that it could be a money thing where he's might be getting a little bit more money, a bit more wages. Because I think with the way that Brighton have been playing and the way that we've spent in this transfer window, that we've got all the makings for another push for maybe the Conference League, maybe, or even the Europa League if we play sort of the right football and if we get results early on and get the confidence going. So it's going to be a big loss, and I don't see any other reason other than maybe the fact that he's interested in trying his luck in with Napoli and in the Italian league and seeing how he gets on, maybe seeing if he can perform well there and then maybe go back to the Premier League with maybe a bigger club potentially. But Hurzeler's,
but he's 23. He's 23. He's still nappy pin stage. He's living in Worthing. I don't know what he earns, and it would be wrong for us to discuss that. But I would imagine that he's on a fairly good wage now. He's playing international football with Scotland. I just think it'd be a strange move. We're on the cusp of something. We've had a taste of the European competition, and as you say, Henry, we're going to be pushing. Hopefully, when we hit the ground running, and £8 million. Well, that's tyre kicking.
It's ridiculous.
That's almost
that's a joke.
It's like something off Auto Trader. You're trying to buy a car cheap, So I hope that it is a squad game, and as we saw last year, if your squad isn't big enough, you will suffer. We need strength in depth. Billy must stay.
Yeah, I agree. Sam, do you think so? I don't think Brighton have seen the best of him yet, do they? He had a good season last year, and I thought this was going to be the year where he's really going to kick on and show what a class act he is. And I think at 23, he's just coming into that prime, isn't he now?
100%. Yeah, I'm certainly surprised. It looks like he's heading for the exit door, because he really is a great player, and he's one of the more experienced players left. Obviously 23, one of the more kind of players who understands the Premier League, that's kind of been in the team for a little while now, and he can kind of help these new players settle in. So I think after Pascal Gross has gone, you kind of need all of those players, as many of those players as you can get, really, people that know what the club's all about, the ethos and all things like that. So I certainly think it's surprising. Maybe it all comes down to the fact that obviously Matt's Weaver's come in, and he maybe thinks he'll take his spot, and he maybe is a bit concerned. Obviously, Yassine Yari's come back in pre-season and performed quite well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and we obviously don't know the future of Jakob Moder, and Milner's been playing a pre-season in that midfield role while Gilmour's been out. So there's certainly options in the midfield for Brighton, but I think having Gilmour around and having, I would still start him, to be honest, having him alongside Weaver will be a really strong midfield pairing. And obviously you've got Believer as well, who I know has been slotted in at left back in recent weeks, but when Estupiñán and Barco are firing and fit, I think Believer will be in midfield. So
yeah,
you can't maybe see it from Gilmour's argument. There's a lot of players to vie for that central midfield spot. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but I would certainly like to see him stay. And if he is to leave, Brighton should ask for a lot more money than what's being quoted at the moment. And as you say, that 8 million bid initially was laughable, really.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with it, but fingers crossed he does end up staying.
Yeah. Harty, there's another talk of another attacker coming in, a right winger, Brayhan Gruder. From Mainz in Germany, another 25 million, a significant investment again. Is that a position that Brighton need to prioritise at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, that's the right kind of right winger to have in the current climate, isn't it? Rather than what's going on elsewhere in the world. But yeah, we need to look. It's about attacking options. Goals win games, so we need attacking options all over the pitch. Strengthen there, really exciting times. Again, I'll echo what Sam and Henry said. Going back to Gilmour, he must stay. It is a squad thing, so you're not going to play. I mean, for older viewers, Aston Villa won the 1981 Championship. They played 14 players all season. Those days are gone.
Yeah,
So
it's a
squad game.
Yeah,
and you're not going to play every game. This is not under eights. You're not going to play every game. So we just got to concentrate on having a decent squad and a strong squad. Again, without wanting to sound like a crack record, we saw what happens when your squad is not strong enough. Yeah. And we hopefully have learned from that very important lesson.
Yeah.
Well, a few injuries could really impact it as well, can't they? If a few players suffer injuries and out for long periods of time, it quickly unravels, as we saw last season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, join us. Thanks for that, guys. Join us after the break, and we'll take a look at Everton and some other potential stars that can shine for Brighton this season. Okay. Well, welcome back to the Gull-Mouth Action podcast. Brighton travel to Everton this Saturday for the Premier League opener. And it's a heck of a test for Fabian Hurzeler's first match in charge, Henry. Sean Dyche's team at packed Goodison Park. That's going to be an introduction to the Premier League, isn't it, for Hurzeler and a number of the new players at Brighton as well.
It certainly is. If there's one way to sort of wake up and get yourself into the Premier League and actually see what Hurzeler is actually made of, then this is going to be that sort of game. I mean, our last meeting with Everton was a 1-1 draw at home with Gilmour. Actually, we were talking about, funnily, got a red card in that game. The game before, another 1-1 draw. And then the game that I and many other Brighton fans hate talking about, but that 5-1 loss to the Toffees at home. That was an absolute shambles. When we had such a good season, we were trying to pick up points and try and pushing for Europe at that point. We didn't know if we were going to get it. And that was a calamity. That was. But yeah, I think Hurzeler's probably a little bit nervous for this one because, I mean, you're away.
It'd have to be.
you've got this sort of, really passionate fan base of Everton. They're going to be making a big noise. It's similar to if we were playing Newcastle away, for the first game of the season. They've got that same sort of aura of, the fans, they absolutely love the club, and they'll be bellowing out. So it'll be a big test for them. And like you say, we've got a lot of young players in the squad now. And I was saying to Sam actually recently, I should probably have a look and see what the average age of, the team is. So I feel like it would fall under sort of that 23 mark, 24 mark, if that. Maybe that's just being generous there. I think it could be younger. So it's a big test for these new boys, really. And with the amount of money we're spending, if we do get these, other players that we're looking at signing, and seems like we're imminent of signing at the time of recording, then we'll be well into over £100 million in spending, which is unheard of. But at the same time, getting up to speed with the Premier League and getting everyone match ready might take a few games, to be honest with you. It might not be the finished article that we want to see. Brighton fans always expect quite a lot, in the last few years, because of the success that we've had, because of the amount of money that we've been able to sell players for. So obviously Brighton hold a lot of value there, but I do think that Brighton fans will have to sort of just give the players a few games just to meld, well together and get into things. I think it's going to be a really tough one. I'll be very surprised if we win this one.
Oh, really? Yeah. Ian, would you agree with that? Do you think it's going to be a real test for Hurzeler? And they've looked good in pre-season, haven't they? But I guess that all goes out the window.
This is the best league in the world. It's a test every game, even when you're playing perceived relegation fodder, which I don't think Everton are. I think they're going to be mid-table this year. But we got to hit the ground running. You can't get left behind. It's 3 fascinating games: Everton away, Man United at home, Arsenal away. Would we be happy with 4 points? Would we be happy with 6 points from that? I think, going back to my feast or famine theory, that we are going to hit the ground running on Saturday afternoon, and I can see us coming back with all 3 points. Pre-season, you shouldn't really judge too much. It's about fitness and sharpness and getting things done. I mean, I can remember, and you'll all be looking at me blankly because you're all considerably younger than this. 43 years ago, Jimmy Case made his debut at a pre-season friendly at Griffin Park in Brentford. Where Brentford won 3-1, and everybody was, oh no, it's going to be. And then we went on. We had our best ever finish in 81-82. So whilst we should look at sharpness and fitness, the real test starts 3:00 Saturday afternoon, and this young Fabian, the youngest ever EPL manager, comes in. He will bamboozle the rest of the EPL, and we'll hit the ground running, but with Billy Gilmour, not without him, please.
Yes, well, hopefully Gilmour stays. What do you make of Hurzeler, Sam? You've watched a lot of the pre-season games. Has there been any noticeable differences in the tactics from De Zerbi to Hurzeler? And what do you think it's going to be like against a Sean Dyche a team who would, Dyche is the sort of manager that loves playing up against these young up-and-coming managers, isn't he? And spoiling their occasion.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all set up to be a really exciting but tough match for both teams, really. I think the early signs from Hurzeler are that he's definitely a little bit more defensive-minded than De Zerbi was. I think we could see that from his comments in his post-match interviews. There's a real focus on his players defending from the front. He's made a big beeline for that, and he wants his players to win the ball back high up the pitch. And he described Yankuba Minte as actually a role model for that. And you could really see that kind of how much he's really understood that. And when you watch him play, he's constantly winning the ball back high up the pitch. And then you've obviously got Mats Weaver behind him. That if Minte doesn't win the ball, you've got Weaver with really long legs, can easily stretch and win the ball back as well. And I think that's the real focus on that is to win the ball out the field and try and keep the pressure high up on the opponents. And we've really seen that. We've seen Brighton really suffocate defences. We saw it in both games in Japan, where they were able to score some goals in quick succession, where they just put the defence under so much pressure. So you kind of got that real perfect mould between defence and attack. Maybe with the De Zerbi, it could be a little bit topsy-turvy sometimes, and just it was a bit too gung-ho, and we saw things go wrong quite quickly if it did go wrong. But there were some brilliant days as well. And as we know, Brighton were brilliant on their day under De Zerbi. So there's still some very big boots to fill in De Zerbi, and despite everything really. And we need to see the real test start away at Everton. And as you've mentioned, Sean Dyche is a master at setting his Everton team up. It's really hard to beat. Yeah. And Brighton don't get an early goal, and the longer the game goes on 0-0, or even if Everton take the lead, we can see what can happen. So you've mentioned that 5-1, but I can't see anything like that happening again. Touch wood, but I think it'll be a really tough game. I think Brighton will get the win. I think from what I've seen in pre-season and what I've seen from the new signings, and if they can all be fit to start and you get a strong team out, I think they probably have more firepower than Everton, I would say. Fingers crossed. Because Onana was a big loss for Everton, actually, even going to Aston Villa. That's a key loss for Everton. So interested to see how they get on the season. But yeah, I'm confident Brighton will get the win at Goodison Park.
Good stuff. And they've made a number of signings, obviously, Brighton, Ian. But is there one or two players that you think are really that you're looking forward to seeing develop or play this year? I'd probably be a bit boring and pick Jan-Paul van Heck. I think he can possibly be one of the best defenders in the Premier League this year, the way he's progressing. But is there a player that you're looking forward to seeing more than anyone else this year?
I just want to see an injury-free Mitoma and Pedro. Those are two players that really excite me. When there's a buzz around the Amex when they get the ball. We were told Pedro was class anyway. World class was a word that was used, and he is going to end up a future number 9 of Brazil. So, but I just want to stay injury free. We've got reinforcements as well. It is going to be an exciting season. We know that players come and go, so we know that if we have a classic season from Mitoma or Pedro or even Minte, someone like that they might get cherry picked, but you just have to live with that. Let's live for the now. Just a quick nod. Thank you to Pascal Gross, one of the greatest players to play for the Albion. Not the greatest player. We all know who that is. One of the greatest players, but and no one can deny him his move to his boyhood club. I went to that Dortmund stadium for the Holland semi-final. It is absolute quality. He will absolutely love it. And he's playing Champions League. He's playing at the high end of the Bundesliga. Everything he deserves at the end of his long and esteemed career. So I really do wish him well.
Good stuff. I think every Brighton fan would agree with that. And just quickly, Henry, which players are you looking forward to seeing the most this season?
Well, in terms of the new signings, I think Yakuba Minter has so much potential. Just the way that he is able to drive the ball forward, and he seemed relentless in those pre-season games when a lot of people are sort of trying to get back into the swing of things. He looked Premier League ready, in my opinion, from sort of day one, and it was really exciting to see the way he was playing football. He's going to be such a big asset to Brighton. I mean, at age 20 years old, he's another player we've uncovered. And I mentioned in another podcast that we did previously that quite a lot of Brighton fans have already been taken to social media to thank Newcastle, saying, "Oh, you've given us another bargain." It's obviously not the sort of £5 to £10 million range that Brighton normally get their young wonder kids for. This is a bit more money. But I do believe that in terms of the potential that he's got and the chances he'll get, I think with the club, that he's going to progress really nicely. And I think he'll get quite a few goals this season.
I think him and Koza Dubry as well. I think that those two both could be very good. Just away from Brighton quickly, and I know you wanted to mention something on Graham Thorpe, who sadly passed away recently.
A very difficult few days for Graham Thorpe's family, and again another person that we know succumbing to that horrible depression. I actually had the privilege of meeting Graham on my travels following England Test cricket team over the years, and he was a really nice guy. And I know Worthing Cricket Club had him as doing their presentations a few years ago, and he was a real gent, you know, a real diamond. And I'm just saying that, you know, that we all, you know, that it takes all sorts to make a world, and there'll be. But if anybody's watching this and they are struggling, please get in contact, either the Samaritans or go and see your GP. One person doing this is one too many. Sadly, Graham won't be the last person, but all the time people can go and get help. Please go and get help. Yeah,
well said, Ian. Well said. And okay, well, thanks for joining us, chaps, and thanks for everybody who's watched. And don't forget, for all of the Brighton coverage throughout the new Premier League season, which starts this Saturday at Everton, go to sussexworld.co.uk sport, and our newspapers are always the best places to get all of the Albion coverage. But for the meantime, good luck to Brighton this weekend, and thanks, chaps, for joining us this morning.